Alright, you guys are here for some tips on how to win more in Ultra Rumble, so let's get right into it. Remember, this channel is the #1 spot for information, matches to learn from, and more regarding Ultra Rumble. Make sure to subscribe in order to keep up and keep improving. Normally I script videos like this, but we're just going to go off the cuff this time. So without any further ado, here we go. Number 1. Always keep an eye on your teammates' condition and position. If you look to the bottom left, you will see your teammates' health and shields. If you don't know what state they're in, you don't know if they need help. You don't know if they're getting their head kicked in, if they're in the middle of a fight, if they are peaceful right now. You have no idea what they are doing. And if you don't know where they are, should they need you at a moment's notice, you won't know where to go to see them. So one of the most undervalued tips in videos like this is to ensure that you know where your teammates are at all times in case you need to move to them, whether it be to support them or because you've got people on your back, and you need to know what their condition is. Do they have enough health to get into a fight? Are they currently losing health? Has somebody got these guys in a chokehold? You need to know if you need to be with them or if they need to be with you and where to go. So always keep an eye on your teammates' condition on the bottom left and where roughly they are on the map. Number 2, before engagements, take note of your inventory and cooldowns. Before I always get into a fight in my Hero Ultra Rumble, I make sure I have enough stuff in my inventory to make up for the situation I'm about to get in. If I've got no health potions, no shield potions, I'm not going to jump into a fight where I may lose most of my health and shields and then be left there stranded, vulnerable to a third party or some other kind of situation. You need to know when you get into a fight if you have the resources to get yourself prepped up and ready to move on to the next situation once that one is done. So if you go into a fight and you lose most of your health and you have no health potions, now you're wandering around the place, vulnerable as all hell, you can't get your health back. If someone jumps you, it's going to be all over for you. And the same goes for cooldowns. The amount of times I've seen people jump into fights and they don't have their full cooldowns. They start firing once, twice, boom, they're out. They've got nothing left to give, and all of a sudden they're scrambling because they thought they was about to have 3 or 4, maybe even 5 free shots, but they didn't have the resources of their cooldowns for it, and now they're gun jammed, you know? Obviously no guns in My Hero, but you get the idea. So not only do you need to keep an eye on your resources, hey, do I have enough shields to restock after I'm done with this battle that I'm looking to get myself into, but you need to know when you jump into the fight, hey, do I have these moves available to me right now? Am I going to get up in this dude's face, expect to press R1 3 times, yet only press it once and I can't do it any more than that because I wasn't keeping an eye on my cooldown? So that is another thing that you have to do. Keep an eye on your inventory and cooldowns before you get yourself into trouble. Otherwise, a rude awakening may be in order for you. Number 3, stop aiming where people are and start aiming where they're moving to. So essentially what I see a lot of the time, people are trying to hit a moving target. It's going to be at its most difficult when you're trying to hit a Tsuyu or an Ida, judging by the beta. And they try to shoot them where they were. But what they should be doing is they're trying to shoot them where they're going. If an Ida or another character that moves pretty fast is moving around, if you're trying to shoot them where they currently are, by the time you line that up and then fire, they've already made that next movement. So you need to take a look and say, hey, where is this person going? Are they running toward a certain piece of cover? Are they running towards a chest? Are they running toward a person? Are they running towards a ledge? And then use that trajectory to plan where you're going to aim ahead of them. So instead of trying to shoot someone where they were, and by the time you shoot them where they were, they're now somewhere else a few steps ahead, you want to be trying to track their movements ahead when you're aiming at them with a ranged attack. Try to hit them where they're going as opposed to where they just were. Number 4, learn the ranges of your moves to know which to use at what spaces. What this means is certain moves have certain ranges. If you know the range of that move, you can hit someone from as far away as possible while still being within the range of that move, keeping you as safe as possible because you're further away, while also being able to hit them first because you know the gauge of how close you have to be. So as soon as you enter that range, smack, you can hit them before they're even expecting it, because they don't know the range of your moves, but you do. And if you want to go one step further and you start to realize the ranges of other players' moves, of what characters they're using, you can, in theory, stay out of range of a lot of their moves while still hitting from the fringe of your own range, meaning you're going to be hitting them, but they're not going to be hitting you, or they're going to be finding it a lot harder to hit you because you're in and out of range. In the best case scenario, you could maybe take out a melee character or a short range character from a range where you can hit them but they can't ever hit you. And if you keep moving your range while they're trying to get closer, you can keep hitting them and they won't be able to touch you. And if you're facing someone who's got just as good range as you, but they don't know their lengths for how far their moves go, you can hit them first before they hit you, because you'll know when you're in range and they'll just be guessing. Number 5. Only activate plus ultra when you're very low on shields or run out to avoid waste. When you activate plus ultra, you gain all of your shields back. It goes from 0 or whatever the number may be to full. So please tell me why some players activate plus ultra when they have full shields. It does not make any sense. If you time it properly, you can have full shields. Let's just say off the top of my head the number is 300. You can have 300 shields. Bang, they take you down to something like 50 shields. You activate plus ultra, you're straight back up to 300. In that scenario, you've essentially garnered yourself about 600 shield for that incident. But when you pop plus ultra while having near enough full shields or even full shields, you've basically stayed around the same level of 300 shields for that situation, because you didn't take advantage of the fact that plus ultra replenishes that. So when you're in a predicament and you have plus ultra, I don't care if you're 3-on-1. If you have full shields or over half of your shields, don't activate plus ultra until your shields are either broken or until your shields are very low and the next attack is going to break into your health. That way you can make the most of not only the plus ultra mechanic, but the replenishment of your shields, which essentially has given you an extra 300 hit points in the fight if you've managed it properly. Number 6, keep a mental note of your damage to enemies while they're in your view. When you're fighting people and you do damage on them, you can see the numbers pop up. A lot of times people will just disregard this information and just think, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But if you are taking account of those numbers to some degree, you can tell yourself roughly how far gone your target is. If you've hit him a whole bunch of times, you've seen the shield pop, he's got his orange numbers coming out, you know this dude has no shields left and he's very vulnerable. If you've hit this guy once or twice and he's still in the blue, he's still probably got shields to spare. Knowing how far gone an opponent is after you've hit them a few times and you've calculated in your head very roughly how much numbers have come out of this dude from when you're hitting him, can tell you whether or not it's worthwhile to push someone, you know, or if you need to step back if the situation isn't worth it. If I break someone's shield, I know I can chase this guy down and finish him. If I hit someone out of the blue and it goes straight into orange numbers, wow, I know this dude is on his last legs, and if I push in and I don't mess up, I can take that guy out. A lot of the time people will do damage to people and they will disregard the numbers that are coming off of that opponent, and so they will lose opportunities to chase down and finish opponents off. And that doesn't sound super important maybe to some people, but that could be the guy who runs off, heals, comes back and then takes you out, or takes your team out, and then his team have more numbers on you because of that. So when you're fighting people, if you've seen, hey, I hit this Shigaraki who's running around over there for like 250, you know, that dude's probably on his last, you know, vestiges of his shield, and his hit points for his health are right in view. That might mean you want to chase that Shigaraki down and not let him run off. So, things to think about when you're dealing damage. Number 7, gain higher ground in final circles to be better positioned. When you're in a final circle, if you can get some high ground, that is great. From the high ground, you will be able to see many players' positions that are still in the game, and it also gives you a spot that is quite difficult to overcome if you're from the opponent's perspective, because they need to make a climb or jump up. Essentially, they need to make themselves very open and vulnerable just to get to where you are. It doesn't mean you have to stay on top of high ground for the entire final circle, but just going there at least once to get a view of the situation around you. How many people are around? Who's with who? Can I see where these guys are hiding? All of these questions can possibly be answered if you get the high ground. And if you want to stay there, if it works out for you, great. If you think it doesn't work out for you, you want to jump down and use it as a way to pinpoint enemies and then push in, great. I'm not going to tell you, every situation is different. But getting the high ground is mighty, mighty, mighty useful. And it can allow you to just get a scope of what you're dealing with. And if you have that information on hand, it might be the difference between you losing a final circle and winning a final circle. Number 8, try to heal before you're nearly out of health or shields completely. Be proactive. A lot of the time I see people strutting around the place. They've got half shields, they've got half health. I'm not in a fight right now, what's the issue? The issue is if someone throws a fireball at the back of your head, your shields are broken and now your health's going down. Even if you don't feel like there's any reason to get your shields or your health up, do it anyway, because you don't know what you could be hit with in the next few moments. Having half shields and a quarter health right now might be okay when you're hanging around with your buddies and you're all opening chests together. But if Mount Lady drops her backside on top of your head, I'm telling you, you're either knocked out or you're close to being knocked out. So you need to be very proactive when it comes to looking at your health and shields. If you're running around with gaps in either of those, it might not seem like a big deal, but that could be the difference in a situation where you've just gotten hit hard and you're trying to escape now. Maybe you didn't think you needed that extra 50 shields, but maybe you would have escaped from the 2 guys chasing you down who are trying to take you out if you did have that 50 health. But because you didn't, there you are lying down and they're both doing Fortnite dances over your body. So be proactive when it comes to healing yourself, shields and health, because you never know when you're going to get into a situation. You'll never know when you're going to need that extra 60 health or 60 shields that you didn't think was important. How many times, if you've played this game or even other games, have you had a neck and neck fight with someone and you've just about grazed it with 20 or 30 health left, or whatever the equivalent may have been in that game, and you thought to yourself, it's a good thing I had full health for that? Same applies here. When the last player alive in your team, identify other solos and full team's endgame. What this means is if your teammates are down and you're in a final circle, don't just hit anyone. You need to look around you and try your best. It's not always going to be easy, but try your best to identify in this final circle where you have no teammates, who else is a solo? Who else is running around trying to make ends meet because they have no team? Who's a twosome? Who's a threesome? Not that kind. Because if you're in a final circle and there's one team of 3 and one solo, if you're smart and they recognize it, you could turn it into a 2v3 and all of a sudden you have somewhat of a chance. If you're not paying attention and you just go and stamp on the other dude's head who's not got a team either, now it's 1v3 and you're probably dead. Or if there's a team of 2, another team of 2, and there's a team of 1, don't get the one guy out. Let him rock, let him do his stuff, because that's almost like an ally to you. If you take him out, now you've got 2 teams to deal with. So remember, when you're in the final circle and you have no allies left because they've been downed, try to evaluate the scene and say, hey, who should I keep alive? Because if this dude's a solo, he can take some of the aggro while I try to deal with the team. And while I take some of the aggro, that solo might take out one of the team. Now it went from a 1v1v3 to a 1v1v2. Now if that solo dies, it's only a 1v2 and not a 1v3. Maybe the team loses another guy. Now it's a 1v1v1. But if you didn't think about that and you just went and drop kicked the other solo without trying to identify who's with who, now you're in a 3v1 and you're probably done for. Very hard to do. You're out of here. But if you had just slowed things down and picked who your targets were in that final circle while you had no teammates of your own, you could have changed the entire outcome, or at least given yourself a far better chance at winning. Number 10, stick with your teammates. If they're randoms, prioritize the stronger one. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're playing with friends, try to stay together, don't go too far away. If you are going to split up, keep cautious, stay within range of each other in case you need to regroup. That way you can loot well and not get in each other's way, but in case things get dicey, you can just, you know, come back together. And on the second point, if you have two randoms with you and they're both going off doing whatever the fuck they want, I've had that before, you know, you got two randoms, one goes left, one goes right, you never see the other one again. Try to just stick with the stronger one. You can't split yourself up and go with both of them. If you have two randoms, if possible, figure out who is the better player. Prioritize that one, because if the stronger one goes down, you're left trying to do a two people team versus the lobby with a weaker dude. At least if the weaker dude goes out, you're with a stronger guy, and even though it's still two versus the lobby again, you at least have someone more competent with you. Number 11, use your spare ability cards to enhance temporarily. So again, this is a pretty underrated one. When you have those cards, we can give yourself some quick boosts, you know, increase speed for 30 seconds, increased attack for 30 seconds, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the time, you know, near endgame, people will have these cards. They don't need any more power-ups. Their team doesn't need more power-ups. They're just kind of sitting there and they don't use them. You may as well use them. If you've got something that can boost your attack for 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever it may be, or you can get something that can heal you for 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever it may be, you may as well use it. To have it and not use it is just taking up space. Why would you even have it in the first place? So super basic tip, but a lot of people don't actually use them. Spare ability cards. If you have them, figure out a time to use it, make the most of it. If your teammates need it, give it to them instead. Number 12, support teammates by giving them what they need if you have it, or ping items. Similar to the last point, if they need health and you've got health, give it to them. If they need shields and you've got shields, give it to them. If they've got, you know, a certain class and you've got a bunch of their cards and you're just sitting on them and they need power-ups, give it to them. Don't be one of these guys that just hold stuff for the sake of it, and, you know, you got your friend there, he's dying, giving his final speech, all he needs is a drop of health, and you're just sitting there with about 10 of them in your pocket, and you're like, I ain't got anything for you. You know, just don't be that guy. Give stuff to your teammates if they need it. Obviously, if you need it, then you need it. But if you don't need it, give it to them. Same goes for pinging items. You might not need something, but someone on your team might need it. Ping it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? Number 13, dodge around cover, walls, bushes when on the defensive to make them waste quirks. A lot of the time when someone's fleeing for their life, when I'm playing the game, you know, they're just kind of running in a straight line or just doing something equally stupid. Try to run towards cover. Sometimes you're not going to be able to, but a lot of the time there will be something around. Try to run towards a wall, a corner, even bushes, and I'm not going to stop something from hitting you, but it will at least make these guys have to sort of think more about where they're aiming. If you're moving towards things that can block shots, you're at least, even if you think it's futile, you're at least improving your chances of survival, be it by a few percent or by dozens of percentage. Sometimes, you know, the only reason I've gotten away from somebody is because I've ducked around a corner and their move hit that corner, and, you know, because of that, I got away. Literally just managing to get out of the way of that final move is what led to me being able to get away. So never really give up when you're running away. Try to just put them off as much as possible. And on the wasting quirks part, again, if they're hitting things that aren't you, that's one less thing that they have to throw at you until, you know, their cooldown stops. So that miss, or those few misses in between those hits because they were hitting parts of the bushes that you weren't at, or they was hitting the wall or that you went around, or the cover you've ducked behind, that might be the difference between them not having any more quirks to actually chase you properly. So it's always good, even if you don't think it's important, to make these little movements to put off your enemy and make them waste quirks, so you give yourself more time to get away and more time to survive. Number 14, don't attack in a straight line or with predictable patterns. So that one's very self-explanatory. If you're doing the same thing in the same pattern, your enemy is going to figure it out. Try to attack from above if you can. Try to, you know, go around the side. Try to mix up your attacks. If you're trying to dodge your opponents, don't make the most obvious dodging things. Go left, go right, go above. Don't just stand there and look like an NPC trying to attack a player character. You want to be the guy who's keeping it unpredictable. Don't just stroll ahead like, you know, a computer on easy difficulty, just pressing the fire button. Move around. Be dynamic. Number 15, upgrade ranged moves first. They're usually the most reliable and safest foundation. Now, you may not agree with this, you may do. And of course, it can depend on the character, but a lot of characters do have a ranged attack. So, you know, this is, I think, worth being in here. I always upgrade my ranged moves first, because as I said, they're the most reliable. You just gotta aim and press your fire button. You don't normally even have to be too close. You're not necessarily putting yourself in too much danger when you do it. And again, it's most people know how to aim and fire something in a game. It's the most reliable and the safest as well, because hey, if you've got a melee attack, you need to get into someone's face. If you get into someone's face, you're much easier to hit. With a range attack, you can be far away. So again, the even if the range move isn't the strongest move, it's normally the most reliable and it's normally the safest. Doesn't mean you're not going to get your butt kicked, but it means you're going to be able to do damage while being far away. And the stronger that technique is, the more joy you're probably going to have throughout the game. And you can obviously upgrade other stuff along the way. Number 16, don't forget about your basic combo. It's great in close, frantic scraps. So, as it says there, a lot of the time when you get into someone's face, you end up doing, you know, some weird ring around the rosy. You're both trying to do a ranged attack, but you're both literally within 2 feet of each other. You know, people's melee cooldowns are gone, so they're just kind of just throwing fireballs or blasts at people's shins. It just looks super messy, and people forget that, hey, I have a square combo attack or whatever your platform equivalent is. So if you're really close to someone and it's really frantic and you don't have your cooldowns available that you might want to use and they're in a similar situation, don't forget, most characters, I think even all of them actually, will have a tracking combo as long as you're close enough, and it does decent enough damage, and of course it can turn the tide in your favor. So don't forget about your basic combo if you're up close and you're both panicking while not having access to what it is exactly that you want to do. So don't forget your basic combo. Number 17, flank enemies when given the chance. If you see an opportunity to go around the side of an enemy and attack them from behind while your teammates are attacking them from the front, that's fantastic. Now you're hitting enemies from 2 different angles. They're going to be panicking. They're not going to know which way to look. They're going to be way more vulnerable because they can't look forwards and backwards at the same time. So either you're going to do a lot of damage or your teammates are going to do a lot of damage. So again, if an enemy has a good spot and they're defending it well and you're just caught in like some range back and forth battle, try to find a way around the side. Try to go, you know, beneath and above, you know, whatever is possible for you to get behind them, try that. Or even from the side. A lot of the time just approaching from the side is enough to fluster an enemy. That works for a team thing. So again, if you have like 1 or 2 of your teammates taking you know, the focus from the front, you go around the back, not in that way. And it also works in case you might be on your own. Maybe 2 teams are fighting and you want to go behind one team and cause havoc. It really does work in all kinds of ways. So again, flanking is a great option to have. If your enemy can see all 3 of you in front of them, then there's nothing that's necessarily going to surprise them. Try and flank them. Number 18, block enemies' line of sight best you can when retreating. This is similar to the other one before about the cover, walls, bushes. If you are running away from an opponent who's trying to take you out, picture this. If you was in your opponent's shoes and you're being chased down, if you're running in a straight line or everywhere you go is open and you can see them, that person is never going to escape you. So if you're that guy running away and all you're doing is running into open areas and running in a straight line, and even if you're zigzagging, to be honest, if they can just see you, they're never going to lose you. So when you're running away, forget about, you know, dodging projectiles. Like, this isn't even really about that. When you're running away from someone and you're trying to lose them, break the line of sight as much as possible. Go inside buildings. Every time they lose sight of you, they need to then play the guessing game of where did this guy just go because I can't see him. And if you keep breaking the line of sight, eventually their luck's going to run out, or they're not going to be able to follow you anymore, and then you're going to be able to get away. Go into bushes, go around trees, go through buildings, go around corners. Whatever you can do to make them lose track of you visually means they need to then try again to recapture the sight of you. And every time you break that line of sight, it becomes harder and harder and harder for them to do it. And even better, if you can go inside a building, then go around another building, then go up somewhere, or then go around another corner, the more times you break the line of sight consecutively, the harder it's going to be for them to make the right choice and guess where it is you've gone every single time. Number 19. Target problematic characters when able above others. What this means is, if I'm in a fight against a team and I see a Darby or a Shigaraki on their team, most of the time, those are going to be the most problematic guys, which means I want to take them out first. If I get them out first, then I know the rest of the team isn't as quite difficult to deal with, because their tech, which makes it difficult, such as Darby's Circle of Fire, Shigaraki's Circle of Bullshit, whatever, if those factors are out of play, the fight becomes easier for my team. Or it could be a Suyu, who can resurrect people with her tongue ability, and she's just generally hard to hit and causes mayhem. You get her out the way first, the other two aren't going to be so problematic. So if you can identify, when you're going up against another team, if you can identify who's the problem character, try to surprise them first. Bang, pile on them first, get them out of there, and then it's like the team's trump card is gone. Obviously, this isn't going to be the right move all the time, but a lot of the time, if you can take the most problematic part of a team out first, the team crumbles from it, and then you have a far easier time. The only downside, I might mention this, if a certain character or a certain play with that character is really, really, really good and really hard to get around, then their teammates might take you out while your team's just too busy focusing on one guy. That's the only downside. But generally, you'll be able to realize that in a situation if it's not working out. So again, that is just a possible hiccup. Your team going out and just getting whittled down because you guys can't take out that main damage or that main problematic person first. So they might just end up distracting you until the other two members of their team have, grinded you out. So that's something to think about. But a lot of the time, if you rock up on someone, you see a Darby sitting there, he don't know you're there, bang, pop his head off. Don't bother hitting someone else. Like, don't hit the Denki. Or obviously, all these characters can be good with different players, but if you know that there's a problematic character with problematic setups, get them out first. And finally, number 20. When in a 1v1 and someone goes plus ultra, the best two options are to either escape and evade them until their meter burns out and then resume fighting them so you don't have to deal with their max level quirks or begin a retreat, and then turn around when at cover to surprise blast them with a few easy hits to break or even severely lower their shield, since they're usually very confident once they've activated it and thus come at you pretty openly. Meaning, they're easier to aim at or to catch unaware because they're so confident. When these guys pop plus ultra, it's like something goes off in their head like, I'm invincible. No, you ain't. As soon as that animation is done, you can get hit like everybody else. But because they get that shield buff, they get those moves buff, they think you're going to start running around scared or you can't suddenly touch them anymore. Take advantage of that. But of course, if you're a total stud, just stand your ground and keep fighting them once they activate all the same. But if it were me, again, lead them into that full sense of security. Let them follow you, and then as they're following in an easy path because they're so confident, bang, just smash off like 2 or 3 easy hits and surprise them that way. That's what I would do anyway. Anyways, we finally got to the end. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Even if you just found 1 or 2 tips useful, that's good enough for me. But hopefully you found a lot more than that worthwhile. Even things you might have already known but not thought about in a certain way. Anything that can really help up your game, I'm happy to do it. If you guys need any more explanation on some of these, just let me know in the comments. I'll try my best to answer. Anything else you want to ask, go ahead. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. All that good stuff. I post a lot of gameplay. You'll see a lot of these put into effect. Obviously, here's the thing that everyone should take home from this. You can't do all of these things all the time. Even myself, I'm the one who, wrote this 20 tips video. I don't even do all of these things all the time. Nobody can ever play the perfect game. But what you want to try to do is play it as perfectly as possible. You want to be as on point as possible. No one's ever going to be able to do everything right. The goal is just to try to do as much right as you can at the time. So the more you know, the more you have for your brain to fall back on and use in the moment. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. Hopefully you guys keep checking the channel out. It means a lot if you do. And yeah, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, check out some more videos of mine if you so desire, and I'll see you soon.